Etepu, assalamu alaikum, namaste, haru nefer. This is Qesankh Keperu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about 4 tips on how to have a Maat relationship. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. And if you're interested in knowing more about my spiritual teachings, you can download a free ebook and read more about the Kemetic approach. The links are below. Just click on them. Start reading today. If you want to know more that entices you, if it teases you, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month, and that will give you exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric. These videos will show you how to summon spirits, contact the ancestors, how to build a magical amulet for your protection, how to do a proper ritual, how to meditate, breathe properly. And if you are an Seer level supporter, you'll get all your oracle readings for free. So become a Patreon supporter today. You can cancel at any time. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can change the vibration frequency of the planet and free the planet once and for all, or shift vibrationally or quantum leap to a new reality where those corrupt 1% rulers don't exist, and we can live in peace and harmony. We can live in Ma'at. Hey, how's that? So Haru Nefer, how are you doing today? I want to give you a quick video, a really, really cool video on, well, it was actually inspired by my mother, Maat. So this is some good information, and it is on how to have a successful relationship. A Maat relationship. What is a Maat relationship? Well, you know, Maat is the goddess of relationships. Some people say, well, she's the goddess of truth, justice, righteousness, balance, reciprocity, karma, all of that good stuff. True, but she governs relationships especially. And so does my aunt, Heteru. But she governs in different type of relationships. See, Heteru's relationships, they're very, what we call in the Kemetic language, twee. They're very sweet, meaning you have to show affection in those relationships. You have to give to get. If you don't, then Heteru doesn't like you. She's like, Heteru says, tell me I'm pretty, tell me I'm beautiful. If you don't, Heteru will find another mate. She dated Harukahuti, then ended up dating or marrying Haru, the king. Whereas Maat doesn't care. Maat says, you don't have to tell me you love me. You don't have to show affection. I know you love me, and I love you. So a Maats love is sharing unrequited. But let's tackle this. Let's go into this good stuff. All right. You see, we're all mixed up in today's world in terms of like relationship. And I think there was a statistic they put out there that 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the mindset around that. But society is socially engineering it so that these relationships will break up. And it's actually kind of coercing women to not get into relationships, to become more career-minded women, not have babies, because, you know, there's a plan with the ruling elite. That is to depopulate the planet and put in a new world order. But God comes in the form of Ma'at, and Ma'at is truth, justice, and righteousness. And if you don't obey the law of Ma'at, some call it the 42 negative confessions or admonitions to the goddess Maat, then Maat will send a Harukahuti to enforce justice. So Harukahuti will be coming onto the scene soon, all right? So let's keep that in mind. And also, while we're at this, the Kemetic people were very much into pairing, and they paired based on energies. So Maat's mate is Tahuti, god of wisdom. They're husband and wife, brother and sister, whatever you want to call them. So you'll always find in Kemet where you have the king, you'll have the queen sitting right next to him or standing right next to him. And we saw this as complementary elements, and this mirrored how the universe worked, how we saw nature work, nature neteru. So keep that in mind, because our ancestors mirrored the universe. They didn't just come up with these ideologies as philosophies, compartmentalized without looking at nature. You see, Maat is also relational thinking. And to understand what truth is about, you have to think relationally. You can't think in a segregated way like Sebek, because the planet is ruled by Sebek. That's why everything is discombobulated and a mess, because people are trying to come up with laws and ideas and philosophies and religions compartmentalized, and they're considering context. All right. Just for example, they stole the 10 Commandments from Maat's 42 admonitions, And they said, thou shalt not kill. But what's the context to that? What's the relationship to the real world? There is none. There is none. What is Ma'at without Tahuti? See, Ma'at is a law. Tahuti is the measure of the law. Ma'at sets the law. Tahuti comes along and shows you how to apply that law. In the Taoist tradition in ancient China, Tahuti is the Tao. He is the way. What is the way? There is no way. All right. So keep that in mind. So let's go into this. And I want you to have a happy and successful relationship. And if you're not currently in a relationship, this will help prepare you for a relationship. The first thing you must understand, and this is where we're going wrong in today's society, is the idea of love. Love is giving, seeking nothing in return. Love can be unrequited. You must understand that because your partner may not say, I love you, and be all sweet and twee or netchum, doesn't mean that they don't love you. They're not showing that type of affection. You see, when you start looking at their temperament, especially when we look at the zodiac sign, we know that Pisces are very emotional. Taurus can be bullheaded. So you have to understand the energy or the temperament of the person you're getting involved with. That's very important. That's how our ancestors look at things, how those energies mixed. So we understand that Ma'at is giving, seeking nothing in return. This means that love, true love, God's love is Maats Love. And if you are made in the image of God and you share in God's quality, not in God's quantity. So you must think of it this way. If you are in a relationship and you get a divorce, so you break up and you go to court and you're battling over things, that wasn't really love because there's no argument. See, in antiquity, we had relationships that were arranged marriages. I'm going to get into a little bit about that. And those arranged marriages lasted for decades simply because the people understood something fundamental that we don't understand. Number one, that love is giving, seeking nothing in return. That's true love. It's not about I love you because you do these things for me. And if you don't do these things for me, I fall out of love with you. No, that's not love. The other thing is we learn from Heteru, the true nature of our being is that we can go into any state that we want. I may not be physically attracted to you, but I know I can turn that emotion on through to trance. That's right. You can become attracted to somebody if you put yourself into a state of trance. You see, your essential essence of who you are is unconditioned. You're not programmed to have likes or dislikes. You're unconditioned being, your free will. But it's through social engineering and nurturing and media that you pick up these likes and dislikes. So you have certain women exemplifying phenotypes or, certain hair, or men with certain physiques and height that turns you on, but that really is a conditioning, a programming. And you can program yourself to find things that you didn't find attractive. And our ancestors knew this. This is why when we had arranged marriages, we would say, hey, you will fall in love with this person. You will grow to love them. And through the process of understanding the mechanics of the mind and the subconscious realm, we knew how to program ourselves to live out our responsibilities as husband and wife and to fall in love with that person. All right. So love is not about falling in and out of love. Love is loving somebody because you share. And the next thing is part number 2, consciousness. You are consciousness. So therefore you do unto others as you would do unto yourself, because they are consciousness. They're not a physical body. They're not the man, woman. They're not black, white. They are consciousness, immaterial. And with that understanding, it resolves so many conflicts. People are like, well, should I marry someone with my same race, my same nationality? Well, I would say you go to Huti, the oracle, ask the oracle that question about if you should marry this person or if you shouldn't marry that person. That person who is of an Asian descent maybe is someone that you had a relationship with in a past life. And the oracle now sanctions that you go outside of your race to marry someone of Asian descent. But we never consider the past. We never consider the previous life, which could be us basically following up on the things we did in that past life. We don't think about these things. We just say, as a strict rule, you should be dating somebody in your race. No, that's not necessarily true. You understand? You could have had a relationship with somebody, a twin flame, a soulmate in a past life. And now you must continue that relationship with them. And even though they have come into the form of someone who is not in the same heritage or race as you, the oracle is sanctioning the continuation of that relationship, even though it's both of you of a different background race. Because if you start looking at things solely from the physical perspective, you're no better than the oppressors. So you must say, we are consciousness. We immaterial. We have no beginning, we'll have no end. We have always been. And the physical body represents just a filter or a prism by which we view the world. Let's go into number 3. There are different types of relationships. There's polygamy, there's monogamy, and we get caught up in these things. I want to clear the air on this because a woman once told me, she was like, well, why can't the woman have 2 or 3 husbands? I said, because your biology is different. Your vagina is different. You must understand. You see, in antiquity, one of the reasons why we came up with a polygamous relationship was that because men would go to war. And when men would go to war, a vast amount of them would die. This leaving women on their own with no man to take care of them and their children. So the king would initiate polygamy. And he would say, if a man has a wife already and this woman's husband died in war, you need to take her in and take care of her kids. So that there would be that extended family, which would become the polygamous family. And we also understand the psychology of women, and men fall in love deeply. Women can actually, and I hate to use this term, but it's not precise, kind of turn that thing off a bit, you know? And this is because nature, the Teru, wired them in such that if their husband died or if a new, well, this even goes back prior to that. Let's go back to the really so-called primitive times where you have your hunter-gatherers, supposedly. And if you have someone who's the alpha male comes along and he kills the woman's husband, and he now takes her as a wife, she could easily transition from that old husband who was taken out to a new husband and start to work with him and become a loyal wife to him until another alpha male takes him out. And we see this in animal kingdom. Now, we're not animals, but we see this with lions who will come in and kill off the lionesses, the cubs who was spawned by another lion. And she's then forced to copulate and mate or pair bond, whatever you want to call it, with the new lion, the new alpha, and so in the pride. So these are some of the things that were taken from very, very as we so-called ancient or primitive times that has been coded. So men and women in terms of the way that they love, if you want to call it that, is a bit different. So this is why, and women who have, studies have been done that women who have multiple partners, many partners, have trouble bonding eventually. So women have to be particularly careful about that, because the more partners they have, the less ability they have on a subconscious level to bond with that one mate who's right for them. So we have to look at things that way. This is why we have to look at everything in context. So, we talk about equality. That's not right. That's a Western sensibility that's been corrupted. Just because you have the ability to do something doesn't mean you should do it. And equality in terms of comparing your equality or what you call equality, meaning that you should be able to do everything a man should do. That's not right. The ancient Kemetic people said a place for everything and everything in its place, and everything must fulfill its role according to its type. So women have a specific role, men have a specific role. So we must be very careful to understand those roles and fulfill those roles for the whole, which is Maat, looks at everything in the whole, to function properly. And when those individual pieces step outside of their assigned roles and decide to do things they're not supposed to be doing, then the whole thing falls apart, like the tower and the tarot. So we must be very, very careful that we are playing out our roles as husbands, as wives. Let's go on to number 4, which is very important. Maat is spiritual. Maat is optimistic. So you must remember to keep that in mind. Not religious. That's different. That's obeying by a set of rules, scriptures, edicts, or what have you. Maat is a very, very spiritual woman, and she's always looking at the bright side of things. The glass is half full. This also means that you must live by the oracles. You must go to the oracle, go to Tahuti for wisdom and guidance and how you govern your life, and specifically in the mate that you choose. You just don't go in because someone excites you from a sexual perspective or an emotional perspective. Last thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of like a fifth bonus, is that you must understand that the Western way of looking at things is always left brain concrete, physical. So the whole idea, the big media machine that's pumped out globally, is that attraction, love is based on physicality. It's not. You see, you can fall in love with someone's persona, their character, or more specifically, their frequency, their energy that they're giving off. And women have a very beautiful way of doing that. Falling in love with a man based on his character traits, how he exhibits himself, or how he acts, or how he doesn't act. You know, is he chivalrous? Is he alpha male? Is he high value? And we're talking about things in the abstract sense, not in the concrete physical type, not like 6 feet tall, dark, handsome, that type of thing. No. We're looking at the energy that a person's putting off, and that energy is enough to attract people into our lives and have us so-called fall in love. So we must look at that as an important component too, because so much emphasis is being placed on just physicality, how they look. And through all of the Western society, women are being attacked because they're told that they don't have big breasts, big booty, they're not tall enough, they're not pale or white-skinned enough. So therefore they go under skin bleaching, body augmentation, wearing hair extensions or weaves to try to look like the perfect image. And we know what that is as presented by European Western culture. This is why we have to look at Ma'at in terms of, because Ma'at is also abstract thought, looking at things from an abstract perspective and feeling the energy that you're getting from this person. How does that make you feel? Because you can fall in love with that energy. I'm using just these terms that you understand. But as I said before, we can turn that love thing on, or we can turn it off, because we have a free will. We're unconditioned. Never forget that. Somebody may like herbal teas. Another person says, I hate teas. Is a tea intrinsically bad? No, it's not. So therefore, it doesn't have a quality in and of itself. There are people in this world with beautiful personalities, but there's no scale for that. When you say, how does that woman look? Oh, she's a 9. We never say, how's that energy? How's the energy she's putting off? Oh, it's an 8. You know, and we have to start going back to that. And that's how our ancestors, in a sense, operated. You know, Western media has done a great job of vilifying, of misleading, of twisting the truth about how we had, or how we lived how we lived in ancient antiquity, or antiquity, how we had our relationships and what our relationships were about. Look at the most recent film, Coming to America, by Eddie Murphy. It just makes it seem like people are just thrown together and expected to live together regardless of the fact that they love each other or not. No. Women and men go through a process of initiation. They're trained, they're taught how to be men, how to be women, the roles and responsibilities within the family unit. As a king, you could not ascend to that throne without first having a large family, because the measure of how well you would rule your kingship depending on how well your family was going along. Was there strife in your family? Did you have divorce? Did the kids argue? Were the kids spoiled? Well, you weren't going to make a good king. But if we saw that there was harmony within your family, there was true love, Maat love within your family, we know that you could rule a nation and be a good king or pharaoh. So I want you to think about these things. Keep them in mind, because the goal of today's society is to introduce Satanism, introduce the ego. The focus is on the individual, not the collective. Maat is about the collective, what's good for the collective. Maat is not just about looking at the individual. A lot of people in relationships today have that fault where they only think about themselves, and that's good. Not what's good for the children, not what's good for my former mate, but what's good for me. What can I get out of this? Can I get the house? Can I get the car? So it's not, and love, it's not love. And we have lost the definition of that. We have lost the idea of what is love. Laying down and having a baby with someone, that's not love. You didn't bring the baby into the world through love. And you know, some people will say, oh, you're a conservative because you have these traditional values. No, it's not about that. It's not about these names and nomenclatures. It's about what is truth. And truth lasts. It's not subject to change. So I want to thank you all for tuning in for the short broadcast. And I hope that you have a loving and Maat relationship. And I hope this has shed some light on where we're going wrong and how this can help you. This is Qesankh, son of Maat, son of Maat and Tahuti. Maat is the beautiful goddess of the Ru. Till the next video, I'm in Ra.